Good evening, traders. It is Sunday, the 29th of January. Tomorrow is the 30th, Monday the 30th. I'm recording this for the week commencing Monday the 30th of January. So this is a jam-packed week with news. All right, absolutely need to be cautious here. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is going to be a nightmare. We have monetary policy coming out of the UK, the US, and Europe, and we also have the big finish on Friday, which is non-farm payroll. So I would expect, personally, I am expecting just ridiculous swings. In principle, most of the economies should be fine. They should be fine, but it's so much news. I'd be amazed if this was a peaceful week. I expect it to be lots of spikes in different directions and multiple swings of volatility. It's going to make it just tricky and very messy in terms of trading opportunities there. And so that just means risking less, taking profit sooner, updating my stop loss, absolutely being cautious with how much my risk is, making sure there's a stop loss, or not engaging in the markets at all, watching from the sidelines, or making sure that I get in and out a few hours ahead of those. Trading Friday morning, it can be incredibly messy. All right, that being said, let's go and have a look at the charts. So the dollar's slowing down. There's no doubt dollar index is slowing down. It's coming back into a recent level. It's coming to approaching a big number, 100. So the problem with this week is that a new spike like that could see it get pushed down to 100 and bounce off that, and then that'll give us a strong finish of the week for the dollar, and then we're going to see a deeper correction. But you know what? A lot of stocks are looking really powerful. In fact, I'm seeing bullishness I haven't seen just for years. So I'm kind of, in principle, I'm bullish on a lot of things, which would probably lean towards a weaker US dollar. However, the problem is that euro dollar needs to have a bit of a correction. We've got a little bit of bearish divergence here, but actually on recent days, it's been fine. It's sort of consolidated, hasn't really gone anywhere. Would just be nice to see it have a bit of a pullback into these previous highs before kind of finishing strong for the rest of the week. So this week is tricky to predict in terms of, I can predict that that it's going to be volatile, that it's going to swing wild, and I can predict that over the probably the next 10 days everything is going to continue generally in its direction. But how this week goes in terms of are we going to have a correction early on in the week and then finish up strong by the end of the week, or go strong until the news comes out and get knocked back? It's that kind of thing is because of all the news, it makes it very tricky. So I'd love to see a pullback into these previous lows and a continuation. Sterling is weaker in terms of comparison, but I must say we have a level of resistance here, but this is a bullish setup over here. It's kind of a nice little bullish inside candle at a level of resistance. And if there wasn't any major news coming out, I would expect this is a hint that the buyers are trying to break out and go higher. So we could actually, we could see that happen. The dollar should be drawn to that, to the 100 level dollar index, and therefore we should see that happening. But even here, you could see on the Aussie dollar here with this, that we're at a level here as well. So at a major level. So pullback towards 0.7 at a continuation would be fantastic. I'd love to see that. Then we have Kiwi dollar. Let's just go and have a look at that one. Also at a level of resistance. So there's a lot of price action sitting at major levels, and therefore is it going to break through or get kicked back or knocked back from that? Dollar yen is a tricky one because dollar yen actually, in principle, they do want it to go down. The Bank of Japan would like this to continue a little bit lower, but it's in a sweet spot where it could turn around and resume that trend to the upside. So I would just definitely, for me personally, I'll be staying away from this. I want to see what happens with the monetary policy stuff. I'm expecting it looks bullish on some of the cross pairs, pound yen, Aussie yen, some of the euro yen. They look more bullish. They look very much have kind of formed a little bit of a W shape, almost like a double bottom. They want to break high. Let's have a look. Dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is interesting to me. A lot of dollar CAD pairs look like they're going to be hitting low. There could really be some nice shorting opportunities on CAD pairs. And let's move along and have a look at Euro Swissy. I still think this trend, the underlying trend, is nice and bullish, but it is no doubt battling with that level. There's no doubt about it. It really is battling with these previous highs. I'd like to see that carry on. Let's see if we can find some support on parity. A little bit of just commenting on that. Nice little bullish candle there. Let's see how that ultimately plays out if it pushes through. But there's no doubt there's some resistance there. Overall, the trend just seems nice and bullish. There doesn't seem much that should. It might come down again, but I think the flow is still to the upside. Okay, let's have a look at gold. Gold, I still stand by it as overextended. Look at the weekly. Nothing has really happened over the last couple of weeks. It really hasn't closed much higher. It's bobbing around. It's not doing a lot. And that's usually something quiet before the storm. So I'd like to see if we kind of do have, we kick off that deeper correction. And that could be tied to a stronger dollar. It's tricky. The kind of visibility is low in terms of this week. Sideways on the silver's done nothing for several weeks. Holy cow. Wow, that goes all the way. So 6-7 weeks has done very little. It's not offering much value there. Let's have a look at copper. Again, these all overextended. They benefit from a bit of a pullback into previous highs before continuing higher. Natural gas continuing down, but it's slowing down. Look at that curve going almost straight down here and starting to slowly slow down. So it's just creeping down. I mean, I want to say there's not much further for it to go, but it just is, it is what it is. As in, some people don't like that expression. I just mean as in there's not a lot for it happening right now. It's still bearish. I would say that a lot of the move has occurred, so I'm not really convinced at this time that there's some good shorting opportunities there. Crude oil. Okay, so crude oil, and again, I've kind of forgotten why I marked this, so let's just get rid of that. I should take notes of these. You can see it's battling with this level of let's call it resistance. So I'm just going to mark this area over here. This is it. That's a little bit of a battle. And this overall bearish trend line, I'd like to see it continue to break through that. I do think that if it does break through, it is looking sort of quite bullish there. What could happen, and this is just, and I don't really use trend lines in that sense, but it just gives me a sense of the overall structure of price. It could work its way back down into these lows here, and then take another run at those highs. So that could be something. So we'll just see how that goes. And see if that's going to be the case. I think once it breaks through, I think it's going to start to take off quite aggressively. Brent crude oil, actually above these highs, still looks relatively decent, but it's also battling with some levels here. You can see these levels across here. So in other words, there's just not enough buyers here for it to maintain that momentum to keep going. So, but I'm still kind of bullish on it. This is fascinating to me. Wheat having done a little bit of a double bottom. Technically, it's a triple bottom. And you can see what it's trying to do is just break above these highs here at 758, trying to keep going there. But it looks really, really nice. And again, there was another kind of little bullish candle set up over here. Let's just move that down a little bit. So that looks really nice. This is overall looking nice and bullish. I still expect this. It's trying to change its trend. So a nice move, a break above that 50-period moving average, to me, would see some good buying opportunities there. Look at it, coffee just going. This was almost a no-brainer, just in terms of that bullish divergence, pulling down and just continuing to go. But and I expect it. I think it might as well just keep going until it hits this next level of resistance. Look at that monthly candle. So if it finishes with a really strong January candle, then it's got 200 in its sights. That makes sense. This looks really good, but there's no doubt this is going to be a significant level that it's going to hit. Might as well put that in. What am I missing here? What's going on here? There we go. Mark that in. That's going to be a battle, but it looks good. Sugar also, wow, looking nice and bullish. Look at that. It's a solid, really nice bullish candle. Nice little one there. It was battling with this level. I would say it's through to the other side. It's going to battle with this a little bit, but it's looking good. So many commodities looking really nice and bullish. That's great. Okay, we spoke about this sort of bullish build-up pattern. Still looks good. If these other ones, wheat, sugar, coffee, are all looking nice and bullish, yeah, why not? Cotton actually working its way to break out. I'm just waiting for it in this area. This is really where I'm looking for that to break out. And then there ultimately, ideally, would be a nice little pullback and a retest, and then a nice potential buying opportunity. MACD is very happy. RSI is happy. This momentum currently is neutral/bullish, not bearish. It could change. You could have a weird spike and it breaks through that, but right now it's holding. So that is building up pressure, likely to do a nice breakout. Okay, on to the US indices. I like them. I'm very happy with what I see here. Nice and bullish, nice look. I want to see them continue. They've got to come up to these old highs, and we'll see how they go. This week could be a bit of a shock to the system, and actually, so meaning that this week I almost don't want to take what happens necessarily, unless there's really a significant thing across the board. When I do next week's analysis, I'm not going to take it too hard, because we could create massive spikes, and then the market just slides back into its existing trend. To me right now, the trend is bullish. S&P looks good. I mean, that is a bullish candle, but not really a necessary and obvious one. But there's been some really nice sort of straightforward signals. Here we've got the Nasdaq, looks so good. So the Nasdaq is kind of the furthest down. It's had the least amount of growth, and to me it looks like it is desperate to catch up. So the one that I'm kind of the top of my list for trading opportunities this week is buy opportunities on the Nasdaq. Kind of keeping in mind, of course, the news is quite nice, is bullish and choppy, and all kinds of crazy stuff is going to happen. I mean, some of these are almost ridiculous. There's a nice little bullish setup there, which obviously in hindsight appears to be the case, but it's pushing through that level. There was a nice bullish setup as well. So kind of just marking. I'm going to start commenting on price action a little bit more as we go, but these are right at a level, which is why I get cautious on it. But they look good. FTSE as well. I'd love to see a pullback into 7.6 and then a continuation to the upside. And that could be something that happens this week, but that looks really good. And I can't think in the last 4 or 5 years, I could even say maybe longer, where I have seen the FTSE and the DAX, for example, and even the Hang Seng, where they are so bullish, just this bullish. I just haven't seen it. Normally they're kind of lagging behind the US markets. They're not at the moment. Look at this stuff as well, also looking nice and bullish. You can see kind of big move and then going sideways. So again, what it would really benefit from here is a bit of a pullback into these highs and then looking so up. But that monthly looks great. So as I said, this week could create some crazy spikes, but I'll just go and pretend, describe the stuff as it is without any anticipated moves. Now, overextended, look at this in isolation. So forget about if you knew what happened before, but look at that big move. That needs to have a bit of a correction. And that correction would ordinarily be in the region of here, 382.50.618, somewhere in this region. Even if you wanted to do a 23, you'd be back at these old highs. So it's not crazy to think that it could find its way back to that. That puts it in this area here, that it's kind of overdue for that. The Nikkei. And the Nikkei, even the Nikkei, look at that, big moves to the upside, really nice solid bullish candle. So let's talk about this as well, because, let's talk about this, because this is a nice bullish candle. So we had a bullish candle there, nice one there. That was obviously, that would have a failed breakout to the downside. That's bullish, that's bullish, that's bullish. Obviously in between there's all these bearish ones, so it's clearly range bound. But what makes these slightly different is they're closing really near the highs. They're really full-bodied. We obviously, for me, what's going to be a clear escape from this purgatory is that it needs to break and close like nicely up here, sort of 28, 29,000, solid green candle, very little wick on top. That would be it taking off there. That would look good. Righty. Oh, that's it. We're on to equities. Apple looking good, man. Apple looks good. Still on a downtrend technically on the weekly, so that has to be said. But that monthly looks great. So almost like it looks so good, it's a formality. The fact that it is technically in a downtrend, it's like a formality, it's going to break through it. But that you can't kind of really make that conclusion yet. You have to allow it to do that. So we're almost certainly there once we get back up above this 152 level that I've kind of marked in now, this 156. Once I get above that, we're kind of in the clear. But we are looking very good. Amazon also very nice monthly candle. It's up above 100 again. It should be free now to head up to 120. That looks great. I mean, this was ridiculous. This setup here was kind of a setup which then subsequently just failed. That was a stop out, but really following through anyway, as far as I'm concerned. Nice and bullish. So a little bit of battle here. Again, this week could be something it'll be worth talking about if next week everything is back down below major levels. But US economy is looking stable at this time, not politically, but financially, in terms of even debt as well. It's looking okay. There are major concerns. There's a lot of people that I respect that are concerned about housing crisis and a few other things, but it doesn't mean it's actually going to unfold that way. And to me, I feel like the current administration is very jacked. They know what they're doing. They're different, in my opinion, are the most jacked that has been in administration in 20 years. Easy. And a lot of people wouldn't agree with that, but I'm okay with that. I find them very mature emotionally. Okay, look at this. So AT&T, massive spike. Now, I can't remember as AT&T owned DirecTV, which dropped Newsmax. So there's some interesting stuff here. But also, that's just a crazy spike in price, unless that's just the data coming through from PROREALTIME. But the data is usually very good here. So no matter what you did here, it's kind of just very choppy. But it's still closing higher. It's still looking nice and bullish. So that looks good. And if it, it's likely that if it continues up here, that kind of a spike like that won't happen again for a while because it's looking really stable. ARK, Miss Woods, all right, looks like she is coming good here. We need to see this weekly break, this previous high, to start shifting that trend. But look at that bullish MACD, previous lows, it's shifting. It's really attempting to do that. Remember that once it gets above the 50, and once it gets above these previous highs, once it gets above that 50-period moving average and above these highs, comes back and retests and goes, then it's on its way back up. So really good. So it's going to be interesting to see if this is the bottom. In other words, if this is the bottom and we're going to see it go all the way back up to the top, that I find that interesting to me as well. Okay, Glencore, also some very nice moves. This is quite choppy. I would have expected this to keep going. It's very choppy here. Look at this choppy behavior, sort of up and down and up and down and up and down. It's doing it here. That's kind of a little bit on the weird side. It has broken through and retested this. A green candle here would be a continuation signal. So I'd be interested to see how high it finishes, but this behavior is very weak. It's not a super strong thing. Like manages to break, and it's struggling. It's like somebody drowning, at the surface, kind of just battling. Look at that, Tesco, boom, that monthly candle, very nice weekly up here as well. These are all key levels. Again, be very nice. Look at this kind of failure here, exhaustion in this area, but these are nice little signals that, this has got, I'm okay if we get some deeper weekly pullbacks, but overall these are still looking, I think, looking good. Tesco, wait, that was Glencore? Sorry, Glencore and Tesco. Yeah, it's struggling in this area. Definitely a bit of an area there. Okay, Amex, solid move to the upside. Big move to the upside. Brings it right back up into these old highs, near a major level, but that's not a sign of weakness. Berkshire Hathaway. Interesting enough, Berkshire Hathaway. Now, there have been times when Berkshire Hathaway has not grown as much as other markets, but there's also been periods when Berkshire Hathaway has really cruised to a rough patch for everybody else. And that's it seems to be the case here, where potentially it's not experiencing growth as much as some of the other companies are, but it's very, very stable. So again, I still expect this to continue to push high. It's got absolutely has some clear resistance at this price level there at 320. I want to see it break through that. But I think if it gets a solid breakout, it's going to just skip the next level immediately. Coca-Cola. Let's just clean up here a little bit. Yeah, it's got a level of resistance. But you know what's interesting about these? These could be leading to a breakout, but it could be something down the line, something later in the year, or Michael Burry's concerned. He thinks, and let's just take it as a potential Q3, we're going to see the markets take another correction. In other words, the belief is that the administration will ultimately, or the Fed, the US Fed, will reduce rates in order to help sort of stimulate the economy. I don't think they're going to do that. I think that's what they would have done in the past. I think the current administration is not going to do things the way that they've done in the past. I think they're going to just keep things calm and steady, and try to. So the fear is that if they reduce rates to stimulate the economy, that inflation will pick up again, and then you'll just go through the cycle again. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're aware that that's happened in the past, and they're not going to do it this time. I think they're just going to keep rates low for a while. Also, one thing that really has to be said, by the way, is that up until 2005, interest rates around the world were always higher. They were generally at 5% or higher. They've been low for so long that people think this is normal. This is not normal. People have got used to living this way, and it's true. We bleed money in little bits and pieces here, absolutely. But this is not normal. Interest rates are usually higher so that they have room to drop them. And so actually the best thing that we can do is just accept that interest rates can go a little bit higher, and that would actually be normal. We just have to adapt, cut our cloth accordingly. Just certainly that's the way I remember it as a kid. That's the way I remember it as a young adult. The interest rates are always high. They've been unusually low since 2000, and that led, by the way, to the 2007-2009 global financial crisis. That was a major contributor to it, and we don't want to go there again. Excuse me. Okay, so that's what I'd like to see here. Coca-Cola, nice little bullish inside candle here. So just take another run at the top. BP continuing up. So there's lots of little bullish signals here. That looks okay to me. Yeah, it looks nice and bullish. We've got ExxonMobil, also nice and bullish. So continuation setups there for the most part. But yeah, if I'd taken any swing trades on these, that have been stopped out. So there were a couple that were losers, but the others were winners. But interesting enough, those losers weren't necessarily about the direction. They were more to do with outside behavior. Same thing here as well. You got triggered in, stopped out, and a continuation to the upside. And that's the risk with stocks as well. You get those gap ups and gaps up and gap down and everything. Looks nice and bullish. JP Morgan's good. Adidas, sorry. Also struggling a little bit at this level. Where else did we see that? Was that with with ARC or something? Just battling with that level. But yeah, because it's within a strong downtrend, I think it's still got some room to head up a little bit higher, but it's now in that area. And actually, if nothing else, it should be a 302 retracement from the high, so it should still be able to go a little bit higher. Meta, We're going to have to see. We're going to have to see what happens. So the same thing, though. It's the same analysis. There's still room for it to go a little bit higher, which means that in theory, 200 is, from experience, 200 should be something feasible. However, in principle, I still struggle to see the real value that Meta has. But that is a very subjective opinion. So I just don't get it. But as a trader, we'll have to see what the price action says. It's not really my business to know anything about that per se. It's just an opinion. Okay, so this also looks nice and bullish. These are also little bullish signals over here. Double bottom, inside bullish candle. That's Microsoft. And it's right at these levels. So again, there's a lot of markets that are testing levels. And so I'm interested to see if they manage to break through those levels. It is important. If they fail, the market then gets spooks and you get bigger corrections. But if the market is doing well, they should break through. And breaking through would absolutely be a sign of bullishness and stability. They can't break through those major levels across the board and it just be, oh no, the market's weak. This looks really nice and bullish. I like this. Nvidia's looking good. That was some of these have been relatively straightforward, obvious things, and some of them, if you've been watching my weekly analysis, some of these we've been talking about going back. That looks good. Netflix is trending up nicely. It's the quality of the trend that I quite like here. It's bullish. Okay, all of this daily stuff is nice and bullish. Pullbacks and continuations. There's an area where it's going to battle, so we'll see how it handles that, but it looks okay. PayPal. Okay, PayPal's looking good. It's starting to breach that trend line. Looks good. Okay, I mean, it's very, very weak on that weekly, but yeah, it could be doing a very nice double bottom. It's going to have bullish divergence. If we could break up through that and break these highs, it's got some good room to move to the upside there. Let's see how that goes. Spotify as well, nice and strong. Really nice little bullish setup over here. I know that it's past, but I'm just going to comment on that. So it's got to get through that band. Should be able to do that. Spider, all bullish, nice little bullish inside candles. A lot of these. Yeah, I think it's got upside potential to 93. FedEx. That was a one from last week. Also, upside potential into this area. Okay, should be able to make it. Tesla. Tesla's good. It's at a level now, so we'll see how it goes. This is its risk area. I mentioned that because if you saw this as a head and shoulders pattern, then that would be the neckline, and therefore that can often act as resistance. So that's why I've kind of commented on it. Plus, we've got a major level here. That's why I've made it that region. Tesla, if everything else is going to recover, Tesla should be able to recover, right? As a company, if it's producing stuff and its products are still popular, it's going to be able to do that. So for me, what would be interesting is if we get some major red candles in this area, major failures, rejection candles, and other companies are doing okay. So this is I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm saying that if Tesla starts struggling in this area and other similar companies are continuing to climb, then that would hint that Tesla's trend to the downside might not be over. But if it just bursts through these nice, strong, solid finishes, then it's back in line with everything else. Vanguard, higher lows, trying to break through this. Bullish divergence, this is like a no-brainer. So here we go. Lower low here, which is actually a higher low here, so it's bullish divergence, combined with a bullish breakout pattern here. This has got 400 in its sights. That's very cool. Vanguard's got 400 in its sights pretty soon. I mean, not this week, but I'm saying it looks like it looks good. Bonds are struggling. So bonds are really battling with this level. They've produced a lower high, a little bit of a head and shoulders pattern here. So they are battling, and we're seeing stocks climb again. So we could see bonds start to fade again. We've got a solid rejection on the weekly here. We could see them start to head lower this week. Interesting, because that has been a pattern we've seen during a lot of the bullish markets recently. We've got Bitcoin looking good. I mean, if equities are going to climb, we're going to see them go. Bitcoin looks good, man. That is a continuation setup. Okay, that's a nice little. I really would have liked to see them pull back, but as an alternative to a pullback, you get a consolidation. So this means that there just weren't any sellers here. Nobody, people are getting in. It's a consolidation, and it's kind of taken off. That appears to be generally a trend continuation signal, which means Ethereum's going to go. You can see where it's battling it here, but it looks like it's on the top side of that. So that, again, yeah, there could be things, if you have spare cash. Sorry, this is not financial advice. I'm not doing that. These are kind of musings about the things I like. If I had spare cash and lying around, I do stuff. These might kind of be things or pennies that can go into pocket money, into those sorts of things. That's all, just of interest. Absolutely not financial advice. You need to be speaking to a professional about that. That looks good. That looks almost like a continuation setup to that. I'm just going to mark that to see if that just leads to just a continuation to the upside there. We've got Binance is looking good. Look at this, all this failure here, and it just closed higher. So that is also a very nice sign as well. I like that. Makes me happy. And that's it. Ladies and gents, I'm going to wrap this up. Just it's choppy news. Tech stocks and stocks in general generally look really nice and bullish. Some of those commodities are also looking really good. And a lot of that is thanks to that weaker US dollar. The dollar hasn't hit 100 yet. So this week, I want to see what happens. Do we just get knocked down? Do we tap 100 and then have a strong buy reaction to that? So we get a stronger dollar finish, or do we get a stronger dollar start and a weaker dollar finish? That's really what's going to be interesting to me this week. I'm going to exercise caution around those times. And that is it. I'm going to leave you with that. Listen, folks, trade safely, sensibly, and have a great week.